I feel blessed, that's evident. I'm the best I've ever been. Okay. So if they ask you how I feel, what's up? I'ma tell you I feel amazing. I feel blessed, that's evident. I'm the best I've ever been. So if they ask you how I feel, I'ma tell you I feel amazing. I feel blessed, that's evident. I'm the best I've ever been. So if they ask you how I feel, I'ma tell you I feel amazing. I feel blessed, that's evident. I'm the best I've ever been. So if they ask you how I feel, I'ma tell you I feel amazing.
Good day, good people. Those of you who are tuning in, that is right. Bearing Down the Gridiron is back for season 3. The second season of me doing it solo. And I'm happy to bring it back to you because college football is in the air. We are about, I give it 3 weeks away from the start of college football season. Well, I probably can say 2. We went to today's the 7th. You got the 24th, so about 2.5 weeks away because, we got week 0, and the first game on the docket is out in Dublin, Ireland, when the Florida State Seminoles will take on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. College game day will be out there, but we really don't too much give a crap about week 0. Then the following week will be week 1 when all the fun and action gets started. But nevertheless, college football is here because we are in the month of August, and it's going to be a fun ride. So today, as those of you who are new to it, I'm the playmaker down in silence here. I'm your host of Bearing Down the Gridiron, where everything college football. A lot of changes took place during the summer, officially during the summer. I'm gonna get you through those changes. We're gonna preview the Power 4 conferences. We put down to Power 4 conferences now. No longer a Power 5 because the Pac-12 was dissolved into other conferences. So we are down to the Power 4. We're going to preview each conference leading up to week 1 of the season, not week 0, week 1 of the season. And then we're going to have fun with this college football scene. That there has been some changes to the show. Last year, y'all know I used to do the extra point fan vote. I will not be doing that. I'll be doing something different for y'all to invest in. So there'll be no extra point. I will still be picking games. I might be doing more than 6, so I might need to change the Bear Down Pick 6 name of that segment to something different because I'll be doing more than 6 now. I won't be just picking 6 games. We're gonna preview some more games. So with that being said, there'll be more games I'm going to highlight instead of 6 since we're down to the Power 4, and we're gonna keep things rocking and rolling. All right. So without further ado, one segment that has came is the 2-minute drill. And those of you who are new to Bearing Down the Gridiron, the 2-minute drill is basically my news and notes from around the world of college football that I give to you in this. So let's go ahead and begin it off. And to begin it off, the Kentucky Wildcats program has given 2-year probation in football infractions case. The University of Kentucky and the NCAA reached a settlement on Friday over infractions that included 11 football players getting paid for work they did not perform in the year 2021 and 2022. The negotiated resolution said the school agreed with the NCAA committee on infractions that some football players receive impermissible benefits and that rules violation took place while in the school's swimming program. Interesting enough. Kentucky agreed to spend 2 years on probation, pay the undisclosed fine, and vacate any records of any games in which included ineligible football players competing. So Kentucky's on a two-year probation. Since that interesting how you can still commit infraction in this day and age in the NCAA. Especially when all the changes that have took place. Very interesting that these things can happen. Moving on, speaking of infractions, the NCAA, Greg Patterson is no longer in a role with the Baylor football team. Some changes to the coaching staff took place, and Greg Patterson decided it was best for him to move on, do other things, which is going to be interesting to see because he's not in college football this year. So it's going to be interesting to see a football season without Gary Patterson on the sideline for any school whatsoever. But he was a consultant after leaving TCU, I think during February, early up to recently. And he felt like he done what he could for the program at Baylor, and he's moving on. Gators running back Martell Johnson Jr. had minor knee surgery. Those of you who are new to the show, I am a Gator fan, as well as a UCF Knight fan, but I'm a Gator fan first and foremost. I grew up loving the Gators, grew up loving the blue and orange, going all the way back to the days of Rex Grossman, to Chris Leak, to you can call Tim Tebow, to Felipe Franks. Yeah, I go back a ways, all right? So this one's kind of sucks. Florida running back Martell Johnson Jr. is considered week to week following arthroscopic knee surgery, according to multiple reports on Saturday. Johnson was injured during the opening days of training camp, and a source told the Associated Press his surgery was considered minor, and he's suspected to be back in time for the Gators' opening game against in-state rivalry Miami on August 31st in the Swamp, which is good news in a way. However, when I get to preview the SEC, you'll understand my hesitation as a Gator fan of this year, especially when it comes to the coaching staff on that team. So yeah, but for now we're just gonna keep it as Martell Johnson Jr. will be ready for the opening of the season, which is good news in a season that is going to be very testy. Now, Michigan football coach Sharon Moore violated NCAA rules, NOA draft says. New Michigan head coach Sharon Moore is one of seven members of the 2023 football program accused of violating NCAA rules in a draft of the NCAA notice of allegations obtained by ESPN. The draft, which include subject to change, states Moore could face a showcase penalty and possibly a suspension of allegedly deleting a thread of 52 text messages with former Michigan staffer Connor Stallion in October of 2023. On the same day that the media reports revealed Stallion was leading an effort to capture play calling signals of future opponents. The draft states that the texts were later recovered via device imaging and Moore secretly produced them to enforcement staff. Moore is accused of committing a level 2 violation according to the draft. So the NCAA has got a hard out for Michigan. because you try to get John Harbaugh. You got him suspended for the first 3 games. Then you had the Big Ten suspend him because you didn't have the balls to suspend him yourself for the final 3 games of the Michigan schedule. Nevertheless, they still went undefeated, and they still made the college football playoffs, and they still end up winning the national championship. And Harbaugh say, you know what? I done what I came to do. I am a national champion and head coach in college at the University of Michigan, my alma mater. I'm going back to the NFL. Now he goes back to the NFL, and now y'all still got a heart for Michigan. Now, if it's true, then okay, you gotta do what you gotta do. But this here is getting ridiculous with the NCAA. If y'all would have did what y'all supposed to have done last season, and when they had took care of business, then you won't be doing this now, which is look redundant and stupid on y'all part, because y'all still coming from Michigan. Y'all better be right on this, because if not, y'all gonna take a fatal blow, and y'all not gonna recover from it. So you better prove what you're alleging is actually factual. Because if you don't prove, because this is a draft, this ain't official. This is a draft. If this draft proves to be not official, NCAA, you in a world of trouble, and you ain't coming back from it. I'm just telling you this now. It is stupid. Y'all still coming from Michigan. Let it go. Unless it's proven true. Now, some other sad news to get to. Notre Dame's left tackle Charles Jatso suffered a torn pec and is out for the season. That is a blow to a team that is looking to build on what they had last year and to get back to the prominence that they used to be down up in South Bend, Indiana. But you losing your left tackle, that is a tough blow right there, especially to a team that loves to run the ball, that left side. That's a big blow. But we're not done yet. Tennessee Volunteers lose starting cornerback Jordan Thomas for the season. Jordan Thomas, a projected starter in a Volunteers defensive backfield, has been lost for the season after injuring his right knee in practice last Saturday. Thomas, a junior, is scheduled to undergo surgery later this week, school official says. He was working with the first team as a hybrid star position, a nickelback role after appearing in 25 games over the last 2 seasons. He had 18 total tackles, including 2 for losses, a block punt last season. And yet another setback in injuries for Thomas. And thoughts and prayers go to you and the left tackle for Notre Dame, as y'all have a get well soon and a full recovery. And to close out this segment of this, Georgia Ohio State top coaches preseason poll for college football. The Georgia Bulldogs got 46 out of the 55 votes. Ohio State got the remaining 7 votes, as they are 1 and 2 in the coaches poll. And then I got you the coaches poll here, as you can see here, or 46, or I say for Georgia, not 45, 46. 3 is Oregon, 4 is Texas, 5 is Alabama, 6 is Ole Miss, Notre Dame is 7, Michigan 8, Penn State 9, and Florida State round out the top 10, and you see 11 through 25. But it's just the US Today coaches poll. And about when we get closer to week 0, we should see the AP poll, which is the poll that they are going to use for most of the season until about November. That's going to determine their rankings. So we will be on the lookout for that, and when those come out, we'll be bringing it right here on Brand Down the Gridiron at the appropriate time. But for the coaches poll, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama are your top 5 to the coaches. And that would do it for the 2-minute drill. All right, we're going to take our first commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the changes that have taken place in college football.
Border to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, They palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to I can be the black people.
As she takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific time zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Base YouTube channel. Drew Willingham.
In this case, yeah, you put the blame on Kyle Shanahan for apparently not preparing the team enough for the overtime rules, supposedly.
Cole Johnson.
Peyton was considered the winner, and he was the darling of all darlings for Gerald.
With a special appearance by Tyrone Alizé McDummy.
Ain't nobody calling me. Text. Delete.
Join these 2 football enthusiasts as they give you Total Football Talk. Live every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central on the Sertoba Media and the Comey Media YouTube channels.
Get mounts of entertainment with Paramount Plus. Stream new movies such as Mean Girls, Transformers: Rise of the Beast, and Good Burger 2 with Paramount Plus. Stream live sports such as the UEFA Champions League, the NFL on CBS, the PGA Tour, and March Madness. Catch hit CBS shows such as Fire Country, Ghost, NCIS, and more. But also catch exclusive originals for Paramount Plus such as Special Ops Lioness, The Famous Stallones, and the hit series Halo. The new streaming home of Showtime. Watch Showtime original series and movies when you sign up with Paramount Plus with Showtime. Make it a fun, action-packed adventure for the whole family and create kid-friendly profiles for the little ones. So much to stream with Paramount Plus, with over 45,000 full episodes from BET, CBS, Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, and more. Paramount Plus plan starts at $5.99, but if you subscribe today, you get a free trial. Paramount Plus, mountains of entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Into the Net FC.
Kylian Mbappe just all of a sudden finally understood his role, and I think he finally understood that everything Kylian Mbappe has accomplished already, there is still a hell of a lot waiting for him in the future. Kylian Mbappe is only 24 years old. He has accomplished so much, and you know what? Kylian Mbappe has not even reached his prime. Finally seeing, the Marcus Rashford we have been hoping for such a long time, But, this game, after everything Manchester United has been, doing lately, this was actually the ultimate test, to see if Manchester United, honestly was all of a sudden for real.
I explained this. The United States, maybe they have to suffer this loss as a lesson to learn to prepare for the future. Because 4 years from now, the World Cup is in not 1, not 2, but 3 countries. The United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. Into the Net FC is available on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bearing Down the Gridiron. Here as we get kicking off season 3 like we supposed to. Now we got your news and notes out the way, but they ain't all that took place because changes took place over the summer. Officially went in. A lot of things went in. We have new conferences. We have new playoff rules. We have a lot of stuff that we need to get into. So let's get into it. Changes for the college football season. Let's begin with how the playoff system is going to work, shall we? Because as you can see here on your screen here, and those of you who are listening to us on whatever platform you listen to, thank you for listening to us. Also, you can catch Bearing Down the Gridiron on the radio waves on Saturday, on World Rise Radio on Saturdays, leading up to the kickoff of game when games begin officially. So 11 to 12 on Saturdays on the Real Rise Radio. And then you can catch us Fridays on 502 American Angel for Bearing Down the Gridiron after shooting Lights Out. So, yes, 2 of the shows that I host will be played back-to-back on Fridays, and it'll be Friday mornings at that. Now, we are going from a 4-team playoffs to a 12-team playoffs for the next 2 years, and then I think it's going up to 16 after that for 2026. But knowing the NCAA, they're gonna try to find a way to make it 16 teams at 2025. But for right now, it's officially 12-team playoffs for this upcoming season and next season. The champions of the Power 4 conference is the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC will all receive buys from the first round. You'll get top 6 at large bids, and then from how it was worded, the 2 remaining higher conference champions, which is going to be interesting to see how that goes, because you're talking about the Pac-12, the Mountain West, the American Conference, the MEAC Conference, the Sun Belt Conference, and I think I'm missing one. I can't think off the top of my head right now. But yes, we'll round out the final 8 teams for the 12-team playoffs. Now, this is how this is going to work, okay? So you already know your top. So your winners of your Power 4 conferences, gets buys, okay? So how will the rest of the seedings work? Well, look how they normally work. So your first round will feature whoever's the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th seed. They will host first round matches against the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th seed. So 5 will host 12, 6 will host 11, 7 will host 10, and 8 will host 9 at their respective campuses for the first round. Once that is determined, once that's finished, the quarterfinals will be the quarterfinals matchup will be at selected bowl venues. Well, the first seed would get the winner between the 8 versus 9 seed. The second seed would get the winner between the 7 and 10 seed. The 3 seed would get the winner between the 6 and 11 seed. And the 4 seed would get the winner between the 5th and the 12th seeded teams. And then once those are completed and done in those rounds, or the quarterfinals, the semifinals will match up in the other 2 bowl game venues. Well, the winners of the number 1 seeded game, semifinal will be determined when the winner between the 1 versus 9 winner, 1 versus 8-9 winner, 2 versus 7-10 winner, and those winners would go against the winners of the 4 versus 5-12 winner and 3 versus 6-11 winner. So your winners of your 1 versus 8 or 9 winner would take on the winner of the 4 versus 5-12 winner. And then your winner of your 2nd versus 7 or 10 winner would take on the winner between the 3rd, 6 or 11 winner. So forth and so forth. You see the picture here, which is interesting. So I'm looking forward to see how they do this. How are the 12 teams going to be ranked? How do they determine the 12 teams? Pretty much, how would they determine the 5th through the 12th slot? Is pretty much what I'm looking forward to. Whoever wins the ACC, the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12. Okay, which one has the better record, the better resume? They get the ones. 5 through 12 is going to be interesting for me. How that goes. And how do they determine which remaining conference winners gets the 5th and 6th slot, which is going to be fun to watch as well. All right. Now, here are our bowl venues. So the New Year's 6 Bowl will be the quarter and semifinal games. For this upcoming season, your quarterfinals will have the Fiesta Bowl on the end of the year, December 31st. The Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl will be January 1st. And then your semifinal bowl venues will be on the Orange Bowl, January 9th, and the Cotton Bowl, January 10th, with the next championship game being January 20th, 2025, in the good old city of Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then 2025, the quarterfinals in 2025 will have the Cotton Bowl on the 31st, the Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, and Sugar Bowl on January 1st. Then you will have your semifinals in 2025 being the Fiesta Bowl on January 8th and the Peach Bowl on January 9th. And that championship game would be January 19th down in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. One thing I want y'all to notice, okay? One thing that I want y'all to notice is that you notice the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl both are still being held on January 1st. Which means the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, for us right now, mainly the Rose Bowl, will no longer be held as championships games. It will not be held as semifinal game. The Rose Bowl want to keep their tradition of being on New Year's Day, so they have agreed to be only the quarterfinals venue with this new playoff format. It's in a way, I understand the tradition of it, but it's still kind of bittersweet because out of all the New Year's Six bowl games, the Rose Bowl is the one that has the most precedents out of all of them. When you go out to Pasadena, California, it's just different. When you can hear from players who played in the past, when they hold national championship games there, when they hold college football playoff games there, or when it just held a regular Rose Bowl game there, it's just different than the Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and the Cotton Bowl. But for them to only be a quarterfinals bowl game kind of sucks, to be honest with you. Because I'm pretty sure the NCAA and these conferences wanted to have the Rose Bowl be a site for a national championship game, but they want to stay with tradition and stay on New Year's Day. And the NCAA and these conferences are obliged. So the Rose Bowl will be only for the quarterfinals. There'll be no semifinals of a Rose Bowl game. There'll be no national championship game in Pasadena, California for as the Rose Bowl is concerned. I just want y'all to realize that. And I think the Sugar Bowl is part of it as well. We'll see in 2026 the Sugar Bowl will stay on January 1st or will they elect to move around. But I know for sure that the Rose Bowl is now leaving January 1st. So I want y'all to notice that. Now, for this year, this is how it will go. As I mentioned earlier, 5 versus 12, 6 versus 11, 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9. And then once those matchups are determined, we'll see who will be going to the Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl for the quarterfinals. And those winners will go to the Orange Bowl and Cotton Bowl before they meet down in the ATL for the national championship game on January 20th, which is 10 days after the Cotton Bowl is played. So you get a good week and a half between the semifinals and the national championship game. So that's a nice little tidbit right there to keep it going. For the playoff format going forward for 2024 and 2025, even though things can change for 2025. And I know as officially they'll be going to 16, if I remember correctly, in 2026. But in the NCAA, they could move that up to 2025. Who knows? But those are your playoff changes for this upcoming season, for you to have your everything that you need to know and things to do. But we're not done when it comes to changes, because I did say conference realignment went to full effect at the beginning of July. On July 1st, conference realignment changed around. We had a lot of movement. So the California Golden Bears, the Stanford Cardinals, and the SMU Mustangs are officially a part of the Atlantic Coast Conference. The Arizona Wildcats, the Colorado Buffaloes, the Arizona State Sun Devils, and the Utah Utes are officially part of the Big 12 Conference. The Oregon Ducks, UCLA Bruins, USC Trojans, and the Washington Huskies are officially part of the Big 10. And the Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns are officially part of the Southeastern Conference. So we will dive into each of these 4 conferences leading up to the start of the week 1 season of the college football season. As we did last year, we're going to go through it, give you the main points that took place during the offseason, any changes. We're going to talk about the media poll, who the media has number 1, going through all that. Key games for pretty much the top 5 teams that are picked to vie for the conference title. And then I will give you my pick, okay? That's how we do it here on Down the Gridiron. And with that being said, we're going to take our second commercial break, because the first conference on the docket for us, ladies and gentlemen, the ACC up first. So when we come back, we're going to preview the Atlantic Coast Conference.
I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central.
Shop hats and official sports gear at Liz. Liz is the leader and #1 destination for hats, gears, and everything that moves you, making it the perfect shop for fans to find official sports hats, merchandise, and gear. Represent your team, your town, and your style with a snapback adjustable fitted hat or beanie from thousands of college and pro teams. Browse the very latest sports jerseys and t-shirts from the best teams out there. Liz has officially licensed professional and college sport team apparel and hats featuring the hottest brands and trends. Shop online or visit one of the 100 stores across the country. Locker Rooms by Liz.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets. Join Ryan McCarthy.
I became a Jets fan because Kermit the Frog was my favorite Muppet because he was green, and the Jets wore green. That's how I became a Jets fan.
And Dustin Henry.
ESPN is cashing all in on let's pay a few personalities and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps.
As they walk you through all of the world of sports from their perspective.
The Albany Empire, it's a literal circus.
No credentials required. Where, Ryan, say the tag.
Where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. On YouTube and where you can find all podcasts. Rams fans all around the world.
It's a beautiful thing to be a Rams fan right now. Stafford's back. We're going to see about Cup. And running back, Kerryon Williams. To return.
Lend me your ears, or should I say lend Playmaker your ears, as he breaks down week by week everything in the Los Angeles Rams canon.
Number 99, Aaron Donald. Can't wait for 2029 to come to know that you are going in the Hall of Fame, and it should be first ballot, no questions asked.
Join the Playmaker as he breaks down everything Los Angeles Rams style in Ramily Talk on the Playmakers Blog Network YouTube channel and where you can find podcasts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Burning Down the Gridiron. And just so you know, you just saw the commercial for Ramley Talk. Next week, Ramley Talk returns for season 5. Yes, I'll be doing season 5 of Ramley Talk, the NFL football team that I love most, the Los Angeles Rams. So I'm looking forward to doing another season of Ramley Talk. It's been a great journey for that. It's been a great journey doing Bear Down the Gridiron. Season 3 here begins officially right here today. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you see the ticker down at the bottom, it's letting you know that you can find Bear Down the Gridiron on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and whatever else you listen to your podcast is like. Also, remember, we are on 502 Android Radio on Friday mornings after shooting lights out. And we will be on Real Wise Radio Saturday mornings leading up to kickoff from 11 to 12. You can catch us on Real Wise Radio from 11 to 12 every Saturday during the college football season. There's something I'm looking forward to, and I appreciate my brother Wise at Healthful providing his radio station to me for not only this show, but also Shooting Lights Out, which I have been enjoying, covering the Olympics, covering Team USA basketball, just as well as covering college basketball, the NBA, and the WNBA. So y'all been seeing me a lot, I know, and I'm been enjoying every bit of it. So now, let's get to the final business of the day, and we're going to preview the Atlantic Coast Conference. And before I dive into the Atlantic Coast Conference, there's a couple of things I want to talk about here. Back on July 22nd, during the opening part of ACC Media Day, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips made it known to the media there that the ACC boss to fight Clemson, Florida State lawsuits for as long as it takes. And this ESPN article that I have, that was written by Adria Addison, ESPN senior writer, says ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips said Monday that the league will fight lawsuits with Clemson and Florida State for as long as it takes, adding this conference is bigger than any one school or schools as the league prepares to enter football season, embarking in courtrooms with two of its premier programs. In his opening remarks at ACC kickoff, Phillips vigorously defended the league as questions have swirled about its long-term future. Florida State and Clemson are engaged in lawsuits against the ACC over the league's withdrawal penalty and grant of rights, and the league has filed countersuits against both schools. This is what the commissioner has said. Quote, I can state that we will fight to protect the ACC and our members for as long as it takes. We are confident in this league and that it will remain a premier conference in college athletics for the long-term future. These disputes continue to be extremely damaging, disruptive, and incredibly harmful to the league. Close quote. So the battle between the two premier school programs, whatever you want to use for the ACC, are trying to find a way to get themselves out of the ACC. And consequently, the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, and the Big Ten both say they do not want to add any more schools to their leagues. So Florida State was looking forward to joining the Big Ten. They came out and said, we don't want to add anybody else. The ACC came out before anybody can throw any thoughts out there. Could Florida State join Florida in the SEC? Could Clemson join South Carolina in the SEC? And they said no. All right. And then there's another article that caught my eyes, and it's coming from Clemson. I will get to Clemson in a minute, so let's get to the preview, all right? As we all know, Florida State Seminoles were your 2023 ACC champions, defeating Louisville in a really not interesting game. We knew the outcome was going to be, but thus going undefeated, and we all know what happened. They didn't make the college football playoffs despite being undefeated because the injury to their quarterback then was Jordan Travis, and the committee felt like it didn't do us any justice putting them in the playoffs. Thus, they get blown out in the Orange Bowl by Georgia because starters felt disingenuous about the bowl game because they felt they should have been playing for a national championship game, and then they get blown out by who was then the back-to-back national champions of the Georgia Bulldogs, who felt some type of way as well, and they went in on them. That's Florida State. For Clemson, down year for Clemson. They went 9-4 overall and 4-4 in ACC play. Losing at home to Florida State. And again, they should have won. Losing to Duke. I mean, there was some losses in there. You scratch your head. And you was like, really? Wow, Clemson is having a bad year. All right. And then you have your new schools, the SMU Mustangs, the Stanford Cardinals, and the California Golden Bears are now official members of the ACC, making the ACC a 17-team league. Excuse me. There are now 17 teams in this conference. We already talked about the lawsuit of Florida State and Clemson, lawsuits for leagues, withdrawal penalty, and grants of rights. ACC countersues. I already talked about it to open it up. Florida State is favorite to repeat as ACC champions, and the Clemson Tigers are second in that media poll. And those of you who are looking for the poll, here you go. 81 votes, first place votes were for Florida State, 55 to Clemson, 17 to the Miami Hurricanes, who are third. Fourth is the NC State Wolfpack with the Louisville Cardinals, who lost to the Florida State Seminoles in the ACC championship game last year, coming in fifth. And you see Virginia Tech, SMU, the first new member, coming at 7. North Carolina, Georgia Tech, Cal at 10, with Duke 11, Syracuse, Pitt, Boston College, Wake Forest, Virginia, and Stanford coming in last at 17. Now, before I continue on, Dabo felt some type of way. Dabo Sweeney by proposed roster change impact on walk-ons. Okay, this was back on July 25th. And this is what took place. All right. Let me go back a bit to the main part. Dave Hill, ESPN staff writer. Okay, he wrote this article. College football soon might be saying goodbye to walk-on players. And Clemson coach Dabo Sweeney, a former walk-on player himself at Alabama, said it would be a huge loss for the sport. As part of the settlement in the House versus NCAA case, schools can no longer be limited in the number of scholarships they offer. Although roster size can still be capped, administrators were clicking to push for a lower cap, likely between 105 to 110 players, according to multiple sources, to reduce expenses that would come with a huge jump in scholarships. The result would be that many current walk-ons will be forced out of participating on their current teams, causing an uproar amongst coaches. One of them being Dabo Sweeney. Dabo says, "quote This is the most unit coaches have been. This is the most united coaches has been in the history of football. It's so frustrating. That doesn't happen if Stallion hadn't seen me. I can't even imagine how different things would have been." When he says this quote, he was talking about him because that was when he began his career as a walk-on receiver at Alabama, originally earning a scholarship after 2 years on the scout team. That experience, he said, led him to a job as a grad assistant and originally as a receivers coach for Gene Stallion, and ultimately to being a two-time national championship coach at the University of Clemson. So, walk-on, that wasn't the only one. That was not the only coach that came out and said this is wrong. You are doing the college football sport disservice when you talk about walk-ons, okay? Walk-on is a vital part of college football. Guys who didn't earn a scholarship, guys who weren't looked at as a top-tier athlete, coming in, working their asses off, busting their butt day in, day out, night in, night out, and eventually being rewarded for their hard-earned work. And I'm with the coaches on this one. You cannot get rid of the walk-ons. Do you go back and look at all of college games days, stories, videos, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to walk-ons, and how the entire team enjoys seeing a player who had to walk on earn his scholarship the hard way, instead of just giving scholarships away to players you think is who they think they are. Because not all of the scholarship players live up to the hype that they are. Let's just be honest. But walk-ons, coaches know that guy has come in. He has put in the work. He has busted his ass off countless times. I can finally give him a scholarship. College football, as we both know, some traditions need to stay the way they are. This is one of them. Do not mess with the walk-ons of college football. It's a beautiful story every time we see it when it comes to walk-ons, all right? So that's what I wanted to do, all right? Now that I went through that, now let's get to the top 5. So Florida State comes in at number 1 in the media polls, followed by Clemson. Miami is 3rd, NC State is 4th, and Louisville is 5th. So let's look at the key games and let's see who can come out of this. So as you look at the Florida State, the reigning defending ACC champions, they have a pretty interesting schedule here. Okay, their key game will be a matchup against the American Conference's Memphis Tigers on September 14th. They go to SMU September 28th. They are going to Dallas-Fort Worth area. That would not be an easy game. I know Florida State has the firepower. I know Florida State is back. I know all this. I'm just saying. They are going to a place that is not easy to win it. SMU loves shootouts. So if the defense can stay as consistent as they was last year, the defense I'm talking about, Florida State should be able to win this game. But there's a slip up in the defense. Florida State would find themselves in a shootout. Oh, and by the way, Florida State has DJ Uiagalelei as their quarterback now, who has not been as great as everybody thought he'll be at Clemson. Then he went to Oregon State, had an okay season, but it wasn't spectacular. Now he's at his 3rd school, which is Florida State. Let's see what he does on the Mike Norwell. Speaking of Clemson, to begin the month of October, they host the Clemson Tigers. That's going to be a very important game right there. So you're talking their second conference game is against the Clemson Tigers. Well, they're 3rd, technically they're 3rd because they play Georgia Tech over in Dublin, Ireland to begin the season. So can't forget about that. And then they go to Duke. Not going to be easy, depending on how Duke looks, because they did lose their coach from last year when they had a good season. So depending on how the coaching staff does and how the players do the players still believe in Duke, that probably won't be an easy game. Then they go to Miami, Coral Gables, to take on their arch rival Hurricanes. That's always a fun game to watch between Florida State and Miami. They host North Carolina on the 2nd of November. They go to Notre Dame. They go to South Bend November 9th. And, of course, they host the Florida Gators after Thanksgiving weekend. So, interesting schedule for the Florida State Seminoles. Not as easy. It is doable. We'll see how that goes. For the Clemson Tigers, they open up the season against the Georgia Bulldogs. That game will be taking place in Atlanta, Georgia, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So you can call it a home game for the Georgia Bulldogs, theoretically, because that's pretty much SEC country, even though the Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket actually reside in LA, in Atlanta, my bad, not LA, in Atlanta, and the Georgia Bulldogs reside in Athens, Georgia, but Atlanta's SEC country, let's be quite honest with it. Then they host Appalachian State, which is never an easy task for any Power 4 team that plays against Appalachian State. Then they begin conference play, one of the conference games against NC State at home before they head to Tallahassee in October, as we mentioned earlier. They do have a matchup with Louisville at Death Valley in Clemson before they go to Blacksburg, Virginia, to take on the Virginia Tech Huskies. I'm looking forward to seeing how improved Virginia Tech is before they host the in-state rival of South Carolina. Now, the team that was in the ACC Championship game against Florida State, the Louisville Cardinals. They go to Notre Dame on the 28th of September. They host SMU on the 5th of October. They host Miami on the 19th of October before they go to Death Valley on November 2nd against the Clemson Tigers. And then they finish off at Lexington, Kentucky against in-state rivalry Kentucky. I wonder how motivated Kentucky would be knowing that they're on a 2-year probation. Do they still want bragging rights for the state, which I'm probably sure they want, and they are at home, so I'm looking forward to that game. But that Notre Dame game is the first test for me when it comes to Louisville to see if they are coming back from where they left off at, or are they going to take a step back? If they can go on the road, they can go to South Bend and beat Notre Dame. I think Louisville has a chance to make themselves known in the ACC. Then we get to Miami. As mentioned earlier, they opened their season in the swamp. Gainesville, Florida against the Florida Gators. We play like every 4 years. So last time we have met with the Miami Hurricanes, we beat the Miami Hurricanes. As a matter of fact, I think we won the last 2 games against Miami. So Florida's on a bit of a winning streak against the Miami Hurricanes. So we'll see if the Florida Gators can continue or Miami get off to a great start. Their next key game will be at home when they host Virginia Tech. They go to Cal. This is part of the reason why this conference realignment is so interesting now. Because California is part of the ACC, so Miami has to take that trip from Coral Gables all the way across country to California, Berkeley, to take on the Cal Golden Bears. That's an interesting trip to make. All right. Then after that, in 2 weeks from that, they got to go to Louisville. They take on the Louisville Cardinals before they host Florida State on the 26th of October, and they have Duke coming to Coral Gables on November 2nd. And then NC State Wolfpack. Can NC State ever make that extra leap that people have been looking forward to? Well, let's see. On September 7th, that's the second week of the season, they play Tennessee. That's going to be an interesting one. Tennessee versus NC State, ACC versus SEC all right off the bat. That's going to be a fun one to watch. And then 2 weeks from there, on the 21st of September, they go to Death Valley to take on the Clemson Tigers before they come home on the 5th of October to take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons before they also make the trip that Miami makes all the way to Cal Berkeley to take on the California Golden Bears. So from Raleigh, North Carolina, all the way to California to take on the Golden Bears as a conference game. Then they come home and face Duke on the 9th of November before their in-state rivalry showdown on November 30th, Thanksgiving weekend against the North Carolina Tigers. Now, as you look at these key games for the top 5 in the media polls, ladies and gentlemen, you will notice that what I looked at, Florida State has a difficult road. Memphis, it's going to be tricky because that's like the interesting test, but they do play Georgia Tech, so they might not be as tricky as some may be. Going to SMU is not easy. Going down to Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, not going to be easy. Clemson and Florida State is always a good game to watch. At Duke, depending on how Duke builds on what took place last year, it's going to be interesting. At Miami, always a good game to watch. Going to South Bend is never fun for Florida State. We all know that. Those of you who have been watching college football longer than I have, or about the same amount as I have, know that going to Notre Dame is never a fun trip. And then Florida State rivalry has always been is a rivalry, so you know it's going to be fun to watch that game happen up in Tallahassee at Doak Campbell Stadium. Clemson has a more doable task than Florida State. After they play Georgia, they probably going to get their wake-up call with Georgia. They should get them ready for Appalachian State. Or Appalachian State, we all know Appalachian State is prone for pulling off upsets. But in Clemson at Death Valley, Clemson should win that one. And then you go in the ACC play. You got NC State at home, which is good. You got Louisville at home, which is good. You go to Florida State. You go to Virginia Tech. 2 tricky games. You know, basically going to Florida State, that's like a rivalry right there. And nothing comes easy going to Bladensburg, Virginia. And then you host South Carolina, which is a advantage Clemson. Louisville, depending on how they feel from last year, if they can keep rolling like they did last year, they should be in the driver's seat, so to speak. At Notre Dame, tricky game. SMU at home, Miami at home. At Clemson, at Kentucky. Yeah, but you're not the powerhouses that Clemson and Florida State are, so most people don't believe that you continue what you did last year. Miami, when will the U officially come back? This is the season for it to be back. You go to the swamp. If you can beat Florida in the swamp, that's a great start. You're hosting Virginia Tech. You got to go to Cal. West Coast trip, never fun. You got to go to Lexington. You got to go to Louisville after that against the Cardinals. You host Florida State and you host Duke. So we can see if Miami can finally become back. Florida State is back. We wait to see if Miami can be officially called back because they are not officially back as of right now. And then NC State, we're just looking for NC State to take that next step so we can take them seriously. Because when it comes to, let's see how you play against Tennessee. If you knock out the Volunteers, that's the first step. If you can go to Death Valley and knock out Clemson, okay, now we're talking. You come home to play Wake Forest, you should beat Wake Forest. You go to Cal, never easy trip. You got Duke and you got North Carolina. You don't see Florida State. You don't see Miami. And you don't see Louisville. So 3 teams that are in the top 5, according to the media polls, NC State do not face. They do not face Florida State. They don't face Louisville, and they don't face Miami. Now, can you pull off a shocker against Tennessee Volunteers? Can you go to Death Valley and hang with the Clemson Tigers? And after that, the road is smooth sailing for y'all. We don't know what type of Wake Forest team we're going to see. Cal has never been that good in football, but we shall see how they look for their first year against in the ACC. Duke, we trying to figure out how can Duke maintain what they did last year with a whole new coaching style. And North Carolina, we'll see what Mike Brown does with this group that he has now this year. So that's where we at. With all that being said, I know all my friends, family, Gator Nation are probably shaking their head at me for this one. Yes, I picked the Florida State Seminoles to win the ACC and go back to that ACC champions. It was either between Clemson and Florida State. Remember that I told you it usually take 3 years for a new coach to finally put his footprint on the program. The third year for Mike Norvell got Florida State undefeated in ACC champions. They did not make the playoffs, however. And what happened in the Orange Bowl game against Georgia happened. Throwing all that to the side, if I'm being fair and if I'm being unbiased, I need Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers to show me that they are understanding what the mission is at hand. Because you come out the gate, you got Georgia right out the gate. Kirby Smart ain't playing this year. Kirby Smart is looking for revenge. He did not have the opportunity to defend his back-to-back national championship crown, and he wants payback. Then you got to go to Tallahassee. Tallahassee is hosting the Clemson Tigers, not Clemson hosting the Florida State Seminoles. Florida State is hosting Clemson. Florida State is hosting Florida. Now, they do got to go to Notre Dame. They do got to go to Miami, which is tricky world games. But the other big games, home to Clemson, home to North Carolina, home to Florida. That gives Florida State the advantage. So, yes, I am picking Florida State. As you can see here, we have the Big Four conferences, and I am picking the Florida State Seminoles to win the ACC. I'm sorry that y'all feel that way, but I had to be unbiased. I had to put my bias to the side and be objective when I do this podcast. So there you have it. I am taking the Florida State Seminoles. Okay. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this week's edition of Bear Down the Gridiron. Season 3 is off and running to the hills, which is great to do. And next week when I come back, I'm gonna preview one of the big conferences. Whether it be the Big 10 or the Big 12, I don't know yet. Y'all saw that the Big 12 was second on the chart, then the Big 12. I might switch it. I might go Big 12, then Big 10. I don't know yet. But tune in next week to find out. All right. As always, thank you for tuning in. Comment, like, share, subscribe. I'll do all that good stuff to get this podcast out there. As far as college football season is closing in. For the Playmaker here from the Playmakers Blog Network, thank y'all for tuning in. I will see y'all next week to preview another conference for college football. Deuces.